Hey everybody, BDF44 coming at you with another video. Deep in thought about trying to figure out where Dennis Schroeder could possibly land, what places may be interested in him, hypothetically speaking, because I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. Everybody's quiet. But before I get into that, I want to kind of tell you guys what the latest signings are since I've been keeping up with free agency. So here we go. We got George Niang going to with a 2-year deal to the Sixers. And you also got George Hill leaving the Sixers, headed to the Bucks, back to the Bucks. Kind of had some bad luck there. He played for the Bucks, left there, go to Philly. They won a championship, and now he's coming back. So, yeah, 1 year too late, buddy. Markieff Morris is going to be leaving the Lakers, headed to the Heat for a 1-year deal. He's going to add some depth to the power forward, which is what they need, but not quite the answer. But he's depth for them nevertheless. So I'm sure he'll be a good piece to help their offense along, and defense for that matter. And Ish Smith is going to be headed to Charlotte. I think Ish Smith is a really good point guard. You know, he's a really good role-playing point guard. Charlotte, for me, has always had issues with having too many guards on the team. That's been the issue. But I think things are starting to level out in that regard. So Ish Smith should have a traditional point guard role, maybe third string, behind Ball and the other kid that they just picked up, that they drafted. So yeah, Ish Smith is going to be your third string in Charlotte. And I think that's a very good thing, you know. So that's going to be a helpful piece for them. And now, this is what I've been thinking about. So Dennis Schroeder, where it looks like it may work from where I'm sitting, is Boston. And the reason why I've concluded that Boston is the team is because they have not signed anybody, and they've lost some really, really expensive pieces. Evan Fournier just darted. There's Schroeder's money right there. They ain't signed nobody, and the free agent pool has dried up. Everybody that Boston probably wanted is gone. Now, they can still get extremely creative. Don't get it twisted. They don't need to be in free agency at all. They can make a couple trades with the picks that they have and get whatever they want. So don't get it twisted. But seeing as how they haven't made any moves in free agency, and they are looking to boost their guard position, Dennis is kind of just out there for the cheap. They could probably get him for the low. Maybe not on a multiple year deal, because he's probably going to want the multiple year deal to come in a range that he can't reach right now. But for a 1-year deal, if you pay him his 1-year salary, I think you have a good rental on your hands with Dennis Schroeder if you're the Boston Celtics. Is he what they need? They need more of a facilitator, I'd imagine. But what they already are, which is a defensive team, offsets what he actually isn't, which is a defensive player. They're going to be, in theory, a very good defensive team. So, seeing as how he would probably be the starter in front of Marcus Smart, they can move some things around, or maybe they bring him off the bench. He can be a six-man of the year candidate for them. He can step right into that role and booster their bench quite a bit at the shooting guard, point guard position as a 1-year rental or so. Or maybe they give him. Maybe you convince him to take a couple-year deals. You know, maybe you get him to get assigned a 2-year deal or 3-year deal at a low yearly. This might have shook him into making some sense of what's going on, but I think he's going to want to play his value up. That makes more sense to me. So, unless he's able to get some deal from somewhere that I don't imagine, I'd imagine you're going to start hearing the Celtics name come up, because it just makes sense at this point. I haven't gone through the whole league and who has money left, but I'm thinking about who could use him and who has money left, as far as I can tell. And it's both of those situations are the Boston Celtics, because it's so limited. You know, the market has really dried up for the guy. You know, and all the point guards that everybody was trying to get off the board are almost off the board. I think they're all off the board, and I don't think anybody's really looking for a point guard except for Celtics. You know, and it would be nice for him if he could stay in LA and go to the Clippers, But the Clippers don't have the money to pay him either. They don't have the money. He may be able to pull something off, sign and trade if they just are enamored with having him. But I think they run the risk of kind of running back into the same issues they had last year without a facilitator. I think the facilitating aspect of the game, Rondo's still on board. Well, I mean, Dennis Schröder would be a great place for the. I think that's a good spot for him. Obviously, they still have Patrick Beverly. But I look at the Clippers and I say they have a situation where they're not going to have Kawhi Leonard, so they need to find a way to supplement that scoring if they have any chance of making a season out of this thing. Or maybe they just, or maybe they don't. But Dennis Schröder would probably be a good place. That would be a good place for him to go if they could afford him. If they could work him into their cap somehow. I don't know how the hell that would happen, but I'm just thinking about places he would go. Boston seems to just make the most sense right now. New Orleans is cool because they just signed Devontae Graham. See, that was a big place for him to go. I don't think Toronto's interested, right? I don't think so. They have Van Fleet, they have Trent. They just signed those guys, and that's not the direction they're going. So look around the league, it's like, man, it's drying up, bro. Some of these teams that aren't so good, they got a bunch of point guards all over their teams. Like for example, you look at Orlando, they got nothing but point guards. They just drafted Suggs. They cool. Maybe in a previous situation, he tried to go to Detroit. That situation's not Cade and them. They got that sewed up. So it's like certain places where you would have gone, now they don't need you anymore. After the draft, they don't need you anymore. So, and maybe you wanted to go to a place like Atlanta. Nope, sorry, that's dried back up. You can't return home. So Boston makes the most sense. And someone is going to figure that out. I don't know when they're going to figure it out. It's probably already been figured out. But Boston, Danny Ainge is a hard bargain, though. It's kind of hard to sell him on doing something he don't want to do or didn't have in his plans. Boston is a very meticulous team about keeping picks. And while they could use a salary dump if we, they can give us a player, you know what I mean, for Dennis Schröder, but they didn't want to do that necessarily. You know what I mean? In order for us to sign and trade, they would have to give up something to make the numbers work in theory. Unless you involve a third team, which you can bring on Buddy Hield, but I don't even know what's going on with that. So I think the ultimate goal for the Lakers is just find a place for Schröder right now. If we happen to be able to land Buddy in that deal, that'd be great. But I don't even know if we can even stay on that path at this point. I have no idea. So it seems to me that the Boston Celtics would be the best fit right now to my eyes, to where I'm sitting. That could still pay him. That wouldn't mind maybe having him, and he could contribute to some winning. He would help their team. Their roster would definitely be boosted by him on it. So, he kind of moves Pritchard out the way, I guess. I don't know. What can I say, man? It's just one of those situations where you look up and you say, this is one of them stories. You're not gonna forget it. A guy talked his way not only out of his true value, but drove his market value to the ground by doing so. Yeesh. He didn't play this bad, y'all. It wasn't like he was out here, Ben Simmons not, looking as bad as Ben. What ended up happening to Dennis Schröder is he ended up having to go into COVID protocol. That's what happened last season. If people want to know what happened, if you look at how he was playing before that, he was practically a flawless piece for us offensively. He rarely missed from the free throw line, rarely missed connecting the shots, rarely missed from through. Anything. He really played extremely well in his role when we had our full spectrum of players before that. And then when that happened, he leaves lineup for about a week and a half, and when he returns, he's slumped. He's not playing well. He can't seem to get back in the rhythm. Now you got different guys going out of the lineup, so it's expected for him to do different things, albeit slightly different. Still things that require him to do other things and be exposed in different ways. And that's what happened. That's what happened. He just got exposed. And then playoffs came around. AD went down. Bron went down before the end of the season when he was coming back, that kind of thing. They were kind of out at the same time. He came back before Bron, if I'm not mistaken. He just did not come back the same player, and the team was not the same when he returned to it, and it was a bad circumstance from there. That's what happened to Dennis Schroeder. He didn't have no injury. He didn't have, some crazy attitude issue or problems in the locker room. There wasn't nothing like that going on. He was a consummate pro. I mean, I heard he had issues with Kyle Kuzma, but I don't know how much truth that was to that. I don't really know. Only thing that I saw that he did was turn down that contract that the Lakers offered him. And then from there, the rumors start coming out that he wanted $100 million, $150 million, all kinds of different stuff. And what's really sad about that is you'll never hear from the player. When was the last time you heard Dennis Schroeder say anything? That's the part that doesn't sit well with me. Because maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't heard him verbalize any of this. I've heard people throw numbers around with his name attached to it, and I saw his value drop. Seems kind of strange to me. Now nobody wants him. That's weird. I mean, like, weird. You can talk your way out of value, but it should not confuse the idea of whether or not you should be able to fit on a basketball team. That's the part that's confusing me. Unless there's something we don't know going on behind the scenes that will drive his value down to this degree, I think it's just exaggerated. It's an over-exaggeration and overreaction to the market, I think is what's happening with him. It's just overreaction. Guys are being very, very careful about not signing people to bad contracts. You're seeing better contracts being signed this year. And guys are being careful about what type of people they bring in their locker room as it pertains to questionable behavior or anything like that. You don't want no problems like that. It's just a lot of low risk stuff going on, and Dennis Schroeder just kind of found himself right there in that sweet space of being toxic, even though you ain't heard a word from him. It's weird, but like I said in another video, I think he should probably fire his representation. I think that it would be good for him to have new representation at this time, because he could at least say that it wasn't his idea to inflate his value. You know what I mean? Try to save face some. That was my thinking. Doesn't mean his representation is deserving of being fired. For all I know, it was his idea to inflate his value. But the point is, he needs to be able to try to retain some sense of value. And right now, there's none. Not from where I'm sitting. So, yeah, man, gotta hire good advisors, people, especially if you've been in the league as long as Schroeder. That's another thing. You should understand this stuff, some would say. So, that's that, man. I don't even know if he has a spot with this Laker team. I honestly don't think he does. But with Boston, they can slip him into that lineup. That would be a good piece. So, that's what I got, man. My name is BDF44. Hate to be a Debbie Downer when I talk about this. Hate to be a broken record, because if you've probably heard this conversation before today, because I've talked about it already, but it just is what it is. It's still the same situation. So that's that. BDF44.